Hey guys, so for today's video we are going to be talking about the Pretty Little Liars Summer of Answers. As you guys know, we are 2 weeks away from the mid-season finale, and so far we have barely gotten any answers, but I hear that Pretty Little Liars is promising us that by this mid-season finale we're going to get all of the answers that we could ever possibly want. And if I know Pretty Little Liars, I know that we're not going to get everything they promised us. Literally, they're promising us that we will find out who killed Toby's mom, who A is, who Charles is, even though they're the same person, and who Redcoat is, and who Black Widow is, and like, they're promising us all of these things, and I'm just like, that sounds too good to be true. And you know it probably is, because like I said, this is Pretty Little Liars. Do you remember when they told us they were going to tell us who A was, and they just came up with the name? And that's all we got the name, and we didn't get the identity at all. I feel like it's going to be something like that. And see if it is, and it's not like a real reveal, and we don't get to see the person's face, but we see the girls make a shocked face, and then it just ends. You know everyone in the fandom's going to be coming for the producers of the show, because it's like, guys, we need answers. So, anyway, moving on, I wanted to sit down and share with you guys some of my thoughts on this season so far, because we are 8 episodes in, like I said, 2 episodes away from the mid-season finale, and then we gotta wait a whole long while until the show comes back in like October, I think. It's like normally they do a random Halloween episode and then they go straight to Christmas. I don't know how they're doing it this season, but we'll see. So yeah, I made a list of people on my computer that I wanted to talk about, because a lot has actually happened in the 8 episodes, even though it feels like nothing's really happened. In terms of answers, I don't feel like a lot has happened, but in terms of like people, I feel like a lot of things have happened. So the first person that I want to talk about is Sarah Harvey. As you guys know, she was in the dollhouse with the other girls, and when she goes home, it seems like her mother isn't that welcoming, because she ends up going to see Emily and staying with Emily and her mum for a while. And so Sarah got to stick around after all this time, and honestly, I don't really like her that much, and I feel like a lot of people feel the same way. Sarah, to me, just seems really suspicious. I mean, like, everyone who is introduced to us in the show just seems really suspicious at this point, because it's like, you just can't trust anyone on the show. But Sarah in particular, like, I don't know, she just seems really weird, and like, I know that she has been in the dollhouse a lot longer than the other girls, and so obviously she's a lot more jumpy and a lot more afraid to do things, but like, she actually just really annoys me so much, and like, I really just don't know why. Like, I feel like we just can't trust her, and the fact that Emily does just sort of really annoys me, because it's like, Emily's kind of fallen for her, and I really didn't want that to happen. Like, I'm pretty sure that it was the last thing that any of us really wanted, but I saw it coming in that episode, and I was just like, oh my god, this is happening. And like, I don't know, I just don't want Emily to be with her, and I just want Emily to be with someone else. Like, bring Paige back, because I miss Paige, and let Emily be happy with her. But I don't think that this Sarah thing is going to go anywhere, and you never know. Like, Sarah just seems, I don't really know how to describe anything about Sarah, and I know that she's the first one that I wanted to talk about, but basically I just don't trust her, and I don't like her, and so I'm kind of glad that she went away with her friend. Not that I really trusted her friend when she was there either, because like I said, you can't trust anyone on this show until they are proven to not be A or working with A, then you can't trust them. So, you know, Sarah and her friend went back to wherever Sarah's from, because Sarah thought it was a good idea to move out of Emily's house so that they could really be together, but it still sounds really suspicious, and I don't know. But basically, I'm glad that Sarah's kind of out of the picture for the last episode, because I really do want to talk more about the episode that aired yesterday and also the one last week, but I'll get into that later. So yeah, like I said, kind of glad that Sarah's not in the picture right now, and I really kind of hope she just stays away or something, because I just don't like her. So, moving on to someone that I actually can talk about properly and form coherent sentences about, let's talk about Mona. So, what I'm really sad about actually this season is there's not a lot of Mona, and I think that we all seriously miss her a lot, because whenever Mona is on the show, it's a pretty great show. I mean, I know in the beginning seasons, like before we found out that she was A, she was kind of annoying, but like as the season's gone on, like you really learn to like Mona a lot, and we were all really happy that she's alive and not actually dead. So the fact that we don't see a lot of Mona is really sad. However, when Mona does show up, she tends to really just steal the whole episode. Like, she's just so fabulous, and I've seen pictures of the mid-season finale, and I know that Mona's in it, and I'm so excited for it. But yeah, like, since then, the girls don't really seem to include Mona in any of their plans or anything like that, and I'm like, I feel like she should be part of that, because she was in that dollhouse just as much as them, and they make up the excuse that Mona's mom's always on lockdown and stuff, but Mona's still able to escape, because whenever the girls were in that test lab facility of Leslie's, like, Mona was there. So like, I don't really know what the deal is, why the girls don't include Mona in things anymore. It kind of sucks, because like I said, I really like Mona. And side note, Mona and Mike, can we also talk about that? Because guys, I didn't ship them before, but then they had that scene like a couple episodes ago, and it was like the most adorable thing ever, and it's like, oh my god, I kind of ship Mike and Mona, and that's not something I ever thought I would say. But, you know, with Pretty Little Liars, I do actually end up shipping everyone on the show, and I feel like I'm like that with every TV show. Like, if they show enough like clips of that couple together, I do end up shipping them, except for Sarah and Emily. That's just something I can't agree with. But Mike and Mona are adorable, and I like them together, and I'm so happy that they are going to be together, even though we haven't had any moments with them since, and I'm kind of sad about that. But you know, maybe she'll take him to prom. I have no idea, but I do hope that we get more Mike and Mona in the future, because that's adorable. The next person that I want to talk about is Leslie, who is Mona's friend. As you guys know, she kind of had a little bit of a storyline going on in the first few couple of episodes, because the girls thought that maybe she was a connection to Charles, because we learned that Mona knew Leslie from Radley, because apparently everyone's been in the mental hospital of Radley. Like, literally anyone who's anyone has been in Radley for some reason in Rosewood. Like, that's just ridiculous. But yeah, so Leslie knows Mona from Radley because they were both in at the same time, but Leslie was also there when Charles was there, which kind of confuses me, because that makes me think that Leslie's actually a lot older than Mona and stuff. Like, how could she have been in Radley at the same time as Mona and Charles, unless those were somehow to overlap? I don't know how long that Leslie has been in Radley, but it seems like she'd been there a really long time if she was there at the same time that Charles was, and also at the same time that Mona was. So I'm not really sure how that works. But yeah, so the girls go on a wild goose chase thinking that Leslie has something to do with Charles, and it turns out that she doesn't really have anything to do with Charles, and Mona clears that whole thing up, and she's just like, yeah, Leslie just didn't want people to know that she was in Radley and that she's kind of crazy. Still do not understand why she had all of those glasses in her car. Like, I know that she wants people to think that she's a really put together person, but I still don't know what glasses have to do with that or anything. But yeah, so the whole Leslie thing was a bust, even though I didn't really see it going anywhere to begin with. But like, the way that it was going, I was like, oh my god, we're finally getting answers. Leslie has something to do with it. But then she really didn't, and it was kind of like Andrew all over again, except not really, because you kind of had a bigger hunch that Leslie actually had something to do with it. I don't know. Bottom line is, it was kind of a waste of time, and I was really not appreciating it, because this is supposed to be the summer of answers, not the summer of almost answers, because literally we haven't had that many answers. And speaking of like non-answers, do you remember when we went through that whole like episode and a half when we thought that Charles might have been dead, but really he's not because he's still alive? That thing was so stupid. Like, I was just thinking, oh my god, what if Charles is dead? What does that mean? Who is this person? And then it finds out that no, Charles is not dead, he's alive. So that whole thing was a waste of time, and I really hated that as well, because I was like, guys, can we just get a straight answer about Charles? He has to be alive or dead. Can we not do the questioning thing, because that's annoying? And so that was kind of a bust as well. Like I said, like, we haven't got any like super strong answers, except we know that Charles is not Jason's twin, but Charles is actually older than Jason. and that Mr. De Laurentiis was being shady as fuck because he lied about Charles in the first place, because apparently Jason does remember Charles as Charlie, who's his imaginary friend, except he wasn't an imaginary friend, he was a real person. And I was like, that's so creepy. How could you convince your child that his brother was his imaginary friend? Like, the De Laurentiises are messed up, like on so many levels. They are so messed up. To be just Charles, I guess. But yeah, so all the things that we know about Charles is that he was part of the De Laurentiis family. He tried to kill Allison when they were younger, which is really not right. There's something seriously wrong with Charles, which we know. And we also know that Mrs. De Laurentiis was seeing Charles whenever he went to Radley, but Mr. De Laurentiis had no idea. And there was this whole episode about where they went to Charles's grave, which is at their Aunt Maggie's house, I think that's her name. At some De Laurentiis' aunt's house is supposedly where Charles is buried, except Charles isn't dead, because he's watching the De Laurentiis talk about him, and he leaves a message for his dad saying he's coming home for his birthday. And so Mr. De Laurentiis flees with Allison to keep her safe, and Jason just is like, no, I want to meet my brother. And that's what happened in the last episode, where the girls try to meet Charles as well as Jason, and it all goes wrong. And I was just thinking, like, that whole episode was like, okay guys, did you really think that was gonna work? Because every other time that they've tried to corner A, it doesn't work. So why would this time be any different? But the last episode was kind of just a little bit of a disaster, because you had Jason going on his own, the girls took their tracking devices out, which, by the way, I was like, how did they take those tracking devices out of their necks without killing themselves? Because, I mean, that's just kind of dangerous, to put a knife in the back of your neck. Like, that is scary, and they still did it, and they seemed to be fine. I mean, did anyone notice a bandage in the last episode? Because I didn't, so they must have healed extremely fast. But yeah, so the girls took their tracking devices out because they realized that Charles was tracking them, and they all try to go to this warehouse to get Charles, but little did they know, Toby took Spencer's gummy bears, which had drugs in them, and Toby was tripping. Charles, got ambushed by the police. Charles managed to escape from them by using, all the arcade games in the room where he was going to meet Jason. And it's this whole big thing, and it's like, guys, what made you think that was going to work? And on top of all of that, Allison was the one to call the police, and that's probably what surprised me the most, because Allison has went through a lot of changes in the last season or so. Like, she's so not Allison, and I don't really know where this is coming from, because we all know Allison De Laurentiis, that has been talked about for the past 4 seasons before she showed up again, and it's like, girl, what happened? She's not usually one to defend Charles, if anything, and also call the police at any stage. She's normally the one who says, no, we can't involve the police in things. And so this is all just kind of opposite day, because all the girls are trying to find Charles and not go by the police, but Allison's like, no, we gotta call the police. And so I don't really know what's going on with Allison right now either. I mean, I kind of understand why she feels bad for Charles, but at the same time, the guy tried to kill her. So, you know, it's like, girl, you need to wise up. This guy is dangerous. I know that he's your brother, and he used to be nice at one stage, but he's not like that now. So, you know, can we just sort of get back onto the picture? He traumatized you for years. He caused you to fake your own death and, leave for a long time. Charles is just not the best in, any way. And I half understand Allison, but at the same time I don't. But she did kind of show her old self whenever she stole Lorenzo's key and went into the room in this in the episode yesterday. And so she's kind of herself-ish. She's kind of coming back to herself, but at the same time not really. And she just wants to know more about Charles and get to the bottom of this. And I'm kind of the same way. We all want answers, but at the same time it's girl, he needs to be punished, he needs to be locked away, he needs to have something done to him so that he doesn't come back and try to kill you again. So yeah, I feel like Allison needs a little bit of a reality check. But other than that, can we talk about Allison and Lorenzo? Did you guys like them together? I mean, I know it's pretty much over at this point, but like, I kind of liked them together, and I was kind of happy that Allison was like having a little like romance story, because she hasn't been around for the longest time, and now that we finally get to like see her a lot on screen and stuff, like, it was nice to see her with someone. Because like I said, I like everyone on the show to have their little ship and to be happy. So for Allison to be with Lorenzo, I was like, oh, this is kind of nice for them to be together. And obviously that didn't last very long. But, you know, for the time that they had together, it was kind of adorable. It's just sad that things had to end the way that they did. Okay, so moving on to someone that I think is completely random that just popped out of nowhere, and that is Emily's Habitat for Humanity friend. I don't remember her name, but all I could remember when I first saw her was, oh my god, she was on Home and Away like forever ago, because my mom likes to watch the TV show Home and Away, and it's like a soap opera. And so I used to watch it too, obviously, when I was younger. And that girl who plays Emily's Habitat for Humanity friend used to be on Home and Away. And that's all I could think about when I saw her. And I just thought she was really random to show up. And she's a new potential love interest for Ezra, except not, because he kind of shut that down in the last episode. So I'm not really sure what's going on with that, like, at all. And I was like, why is she coming out of nowhere? I mean, I know that she sort of showed up to ask Emily if she would go with her back to Africa. And, like, that was sort of Emily's idea to escape, like, after she graduated. And I was kind of like, this is so random. Like, why is this happening? Like, why is there another new person coming on the show? Like, we really don't need this right now. We're trying to get answers, not new characters, which I will get into with the other new characters in a little bit. But, like, I just don't feel like she adds anything, so I really don't know why she's there. And I don't know. Like, these new people coming in right now, like, we really don't need it, guys. We really don't need it. So, that's all I really have to say about Emily's Habitat for Humanity friend. I don't really want her to get with Ezra, and I also just don't understand why she was there in the first place. So, speaking of Ezra, let's talk about what was going on with him and Arya in the last episode. So, in the last episode, Arya thinks that it's a good idea to ask Ezra to prom, and I was just like, girl, you can't ask your ex-English teacher to prom because, you know, that's really awkward. But she asked him anyway, and I was like, I don't see that going well. Like, your ex-English teacher who left because he was having an affair with a student to come back for prom, like, that's just a little bit, like, crossing a line. So I didn't really want her to ask him to prom. Not that he was really going to go with her to prom, because, like I said, Arya thought that he was getting with Emily's Habitat for Humanity friend, whose name I don't remember. And so it's like, what's the deal with Ezra and Arya? Because I really like Ezra and Arya together. I mean, I know we were on shaky ground when we thought that Ezra was A, but, like, it's clear that he's not A anymore. So it's like, why can't they just be together? Guys, I just want them to be together because it's less complicated that way. But Arya's kind of just still all shaken up and things from the dollhouse experience, and so she's not really wanting to be with Ezra, but you can sort of see that Ezra still wants to be there for her, which I think is adorable. He wants to be there for her. He wants to be her bodyguard at the art gallery, and it's just like, guys, can we just be together? I mean, it's a little bit weird for Ezra to go to prom, so he probably won't go, but, like, still, they could be together on some level. I don't know. I think that it would be weird if Arya went to prom and she didn't go with anyone, but she can't ask her friend Clark, because he's suspicious, and I'll get into that in a little bit, but, like, you know, I don't know. I just feel like Arya needs to get her shit together, as well as, like, every other character on the show. But Arya, for me, is the one that's been kind of annoying me lately, like, just because she seems to be the one that's been freaking out the most since the whole dollhouse thing happened. Like, Emily seemed to be kind of fine because she had Sarah, and Hannah had Caleb, even though she kind of got annoyed with Caleb for a while. But, like, you know, she was annoying a little bit with her room and everything, but, like, she's kind of fine now. And I know that Spencer had a drug thing, which, again, is not a good thing, but, like, I don't know, I just feel like everyone's sort of a bit more together than Arya is, and it really bothers me. And at the time, like, a couple of episodes ago, I was on Tumblr, and people were talking about how Arya could be A because she had a split personality, and I was like, you know what, guys, I don't really see that, but, I mean, okay, if that's your theory, that's your theory. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like Arya is just still really in shock about the whole like dollhouse thing, and like because Charles seems to be targeting her in particular for like everything. Like she was the one who is in the junkyard and with the dolls, and she keeps having flashbacks with the dolls and in the junkyard and stuff, and plus the art gallery thing. Like, you know, I feel like Charles is targeting Arya quite a bit ever since they got out, and I'm not really sure why, and I think it's because she is the most vulnerable one out of all of them. But it's just a little bit weird, and I'm hoping Arya snaps out of whatever it is that she's in, because it's kind of been a little bit annoying, and I miss the old Arya quite a lot. And yeah. So I just want Arya to, you know, get her calm back and just sort of relax, even though I know that she can't really after everything that's happened. And even in the last episode she was explaining how she always feels cold now because of Charles, and it was really sad, and Ezra was there and it was like, oh, you guys. So I do feel bad for Arya, but I just want her to be normal again. I just want all of them to just be happy and we learn about what happened. Like, I just want answers, guys. Literally the whole thing, like I just want answers so everyone can sleep soundly at night, because I know that until we get answers it's just going to be more of this, me making these rambly videos. Okay, so moving on to the next person that I want to talk about. The last episode, can we just talk about how Redcoat came back? Yeah, Redcoat comes back in the last episode, and it's like, girl, where you been? Because I thought for the longest time that we already knew who Redcoat was. It was like Allison / Cece, but apparently not, because Redcoat's back and she's working with Charles, and it's like, oh my god. Now that's just like assuming that Redcoat is a girl, because you never know. Because in the last episode all you see is Redcoat from behind, and they have their hood up and you can't see the hair. Because normally whenever you've seen Redcoat in the other seasons they had like the blonde hair, so you kind of thought, oh my god, who is Redcoat, because they have blonde hair, and it was like it could have been anyone. And I just remember something. The person that pretended to kill Mona also had blonde hair. Can we go back to that for a second? Who was that? Because we still have not figured out who that is. Just remember that. Oh my god. Another thing that we need an answer for this summer, hopefully. But yeah, so like Redcoat, you always see them from behind. In this episode we didn't see her hair, so it's like, okay, well, who's Redcoat now? Because you know these people change identity like every few episodes just to throw us off. So it seems like Redcoat and Charles are working together, because you see them like watching the surveillance for the gallery together. And I saw this Tumblr picture of Charles and Redcoat watching the surveillance together, and they put the caption on it, relationship goals. Like, people are shipping Charles and Redcoat, and I'm like, guys, that's kind of weird, because we don't even know who these two people are. But like the way that they interacted in the last episode, it was like, oh my god, they could totally be a couple, which kind of made me think about Ren and Melissa, literally, because a lot of people are saying that Charles is Ren, and it's like, okay, if Charles is Ren, then what if Redcoat was Melissa, because they like work together? Like, oh my god, guys, coming up with a theory and I'm not even trying. But yeah, like, you know, if people ship Redcoat and Charles, like, is that a thing? Are they in a relationship? Because in the end of the episode you see Charles and Redcoat getting ready for prom, and it's like, guys, are they together? I mean, obviously they're working together, but it's like, are they together? Because people seem to be shipping them, and like I said, on the show PLL, you just kind of end up shipping everyone with everyone, so it's like, if Redcoat and Charles want to be together, why not? Let's just have that be a thing. I don't know. So we need to know who Redcoat is, and they said that in the mid-season finale we would also find out who Redcoat is, and I just think, like, well, they can't, I don't think that they're going to reveal who Redcoat is. I feel like they're going to keep that a secret. They're going to give us, they might give us who Charles is, because that's the big one that they're promising, but I don't think they're going to give us all the other things. Like, I just don't want to get my hopes up, because what if they don't promise everything, like, or they only do half reveals, like the name of Charles? Because that's just the type of thing that this show will do. They'll give you half reveals, and it'll be like, really? I waited so long for this? Because I was kind of feeling deflated when we found out that the reveal of Big A just turned out to be a name, and so, you know, for like them to promise us the actual reveal of Charles is a really big thing for them, and so I'm like not entirely sure that you know, whatever. Okay, so I lost my train of thought. Anyway, my main point is that we need to know who Redcoat is. And I went on Tumblr earlier, and a lot of people seem to think that Redcoat might be Sarah. And the reason why they think that Redcoat might be Sarah is because, like I said, normally when you see Redcoat, she has the long blonde hair. But because Sarah cut her hair really short, you wouldn't see the hair if she was wearing the coat with the hood up. And so it's like maybe Redcoat is Sarah. And I kind of like understand where they're coming from, but at the same time I really don't want Redcoat to be Sarah. I really want Redcoat to be someone shocking. Like, I really want these reveals to be really shocking. Like, see if these reveals are going to be people that they've randomly introduced in the last season or so. I'm going to be so annoyed because they promised us that Charles was someone that we've seen before, which means that he cannot have just been introduced in the last episode, aka Reese, who I'll talk about in a minute. And like, I would just be disappointed if Redcoat was Sarah, because that just seems like the easy way out. And I'm like, no, guys, we need a real person for Redcoat, and they need to be a good person to be working with Charles so closely right now. So, you know, like, while the theories are great and everything, like, I just want good reveals. So I don't think that Redcoat is Sarah. At least I'm pushing it down. Like, all of these, like, things that keep popping up, like, I'm not going with what the show wants us to think anymore. I'm standing my ground and being like, no, that person is not Charles, no, that person's not Redcoat. I just want the real people. I just want the answers. And so, yes, reading people's theories and things, they do kind of make sense, but I'm kind of just, like, at this point, I'm just done. I just really want to know the real deal. Okay, so moving on to a character that was just introduced to us in the last episode, and that is Reese. Basically what happens with him is that Hannah wants to return her scholarship money to the Karasimi group because she thinks that that has something to do with Charles, and obviously she doesn't want the scholarship money because if it comes from Charles, then obviously he has the potential to take it away, so she can't go to college. So Hannah and Spencer go to the Karasimi group where they end up talking to Reese, and they try to get him to talk about his boss because they think that his boss is Charles, or that Reese might potentially actually be Charles because he looks so much like Jason De Laurentiis. And basically Reese is giving them nothing. They try to ask him all about the scholarships and how they work, and also about his boss, but like obviously Reese is just not going to give up all that information, and it definitely seems like he's hiding something, so we don't trust him. Like I said, you don't trust the new characters on this show. And something that I actually want to point out about that whole scene whenever they were in his office, it kind of reminded me of 50 Shades of Grey a little bit. And I know that that's like the last thing that you ever want to hear in Pretty Little Liars. Like, it made me think of 50 Shades of Grey. But the way that they were like in his office and the way that Reese behaved, it just seemed like very mysterious and like very Christian Grey. And I know that I'm not the only one who thinks it, because I saw a Tumblr post where someone also said it, and it was like, yes, I totally understand what you mean. That scene just seemed very interview scene of 50 Shades of Grey. Totally different, but like the vibe it was giving off, it was the same kind of vibe. So while Hannah and Spencer are talking to Reese, Hannah manages to take a picture of him on her phone so that they can show the other girls. And so they definitely think that because this guy looks like Jason, he could potentially be Charles. And I'm sitting over here like, that's not Charles, because I don't think that Charles would put himself in that position. However, the office kind of looked like where Charles and Redcoat were watching the surveillance from the gallery. And I don't know why, but I just felt like the room that Reese came out of to see the girls was like the secret back room where Charles and Redcoat were hiding out. Obviously, I don't think that is it. I think they're two different locations, but the way that it was set up, it just kind of made me think of that. And so maybe Reese is part of this whole thing. Like, obviously he's suspicious because later in the episode we see him like go into this weird warehouse thing where Clark goes as well, and obviously the girls are following him, and it's like he's suspicious and so shady, and it's like, what's his deal? Why did he go into that place with Clark? I don't understand, but at the same time I don't want to jump to conclusions and say he's Charles, because if he was Charles I'd be so disappointed. Like I said, they said that Charles was someone we'd seen before and not this random guy who just shows up who looks freakingly a lot like Jason. And I was reading on Tumblr, and a lot of people seem to think that Reese was actually hired by Charles, which wouldn't be surprising at this point because, like I said, Reese seems very shady to begin with, so maybe he is working with Charles, but he's not Charles. And people think that because Charles hired Reese to look a lot like Jason, that maybe they're going to frame Jason and make it so that Jason ends up like getting arrested and stuff, because in the last episode, the episode that was from last week, Charles said that he trusted Jason, but then obviously when Jason showed up, so did the police and everyone, so it was kind of a disaster. And so I think what everyone on Tumblr thinks is that Charles hired this guy so that Jason would end up getting arrested, which was sort of to be revenge for him thinking that he could trust Jason when really he couldn't. And that was a really long explanation to explain how I was thinking, but like, you know what I mean. So obviously Reese is not Charles. I refuse to believe that, but Reese is definitely a wild card that we need to look out for, because he is being really suspicious right now, which always happens on Pretty Little Liars. Everyone just seems really suspicious. I mean, he could have just been going in that warehouse for some other reason. Like, a lot of people seem to think that Reese and Clark are in a relationship, and I'm like, why? Other than, like, to prove that he's not actually part of the A-team. I don't know. It just seems very weird. And on that note, let's talk about Clark. So Clark is Arya's photographer friend who we meet in this season as well. He's another new character. Again, do not trust him because, like I said, do not trust the new characters. And so Clark is, like I said, Arya's photographer friend, and they're both entered into the same competition. So obviously Clark is at the gallery that night, and we see him once because he just like stops by in the gallery to talk to Arya, and then he disappears. And then the next time we see him, he's at the warehouse with Reese, and it's like, okay, well obviously we can't trust Clark anymore either, but we still don't know what they were doing in the warehouse because Spencer, Emily, and Hannah decided to stay in their car, which I don't blame them for because it seemed like a really creepy place. And so we don't know what the deal is with Clark either, but at the same time I'm like, he can't be a big part of this, like not at all. Like, he's kind of like, this is kind of like the whole Andrew thing. Like, you know, the way that Andrew started to be really shady toward the end of season 5, and then at the start of season 6 it's like, okay, he's not our guy, he's just like a little pawn that Charles was using, let's just let him go, do whatever. I feel like it's the same thing. These people were hired by Charles to do nothing but be a diversion, which I'm so over. Like, can we just stop with the ruse? Can we just get to Charles? Please, guys, can we just get to Charles? And so Reese and Clark are being really shady, and we don't really trust them anyway, and I think that I've now talked about every new random character that has been introduced in season 6. I think. Give me a second to go down the list. Okay, so I've officially finished talking about every single new character that was introduced in season 6. And that was a lot of characters, and it's only been 8 episodes, so I really hope they don't introduce any more new characters because I'm kind of over it. I mean, can we just like remember the old characters that used to be on the show? Like Jenna. Do we remember what happened to her? Because I don't. And also Cece. Because, I mean, she was on the show for a while too, and then she disappeared. And also Lucas. Can we just talk about how he was in the Christmas episode then, and then he disappeared? Like, these are all people we could bring back instead of bringing in new characters, because this is just too many people. And so, yeah. Anyway, moving on. The very last, or second to last thing that I actually wanted to talk about was Ella and Ashley in this episode, and I mean Ashley Marin, Hannah's mum, and Ella Montgomery, Arya's mum. Like, we have not seen the parents in Pretty Little Liars in a really long time, so I got super excited when we got to see these two mothers talk to each other, because that's not usually something that happens. We never see the parents interact with each other, and when we do, it's very brief. So in the last episode, Ella is in the art gallery with the girls, and she sees the photos of the 4 girls lying on the gurneys, and it's very emotional for her. Ella's like, we have to do something, and so she goes to speak to Ashley Marin, who is Hannah's mom, and they have a moment where they're like, oh my god, we have to do something, and all the while they're being watched by Redcoat. But I just wanted to talk about that because I thought it was a really nice moment to see the mums sticking together. I mean, I know that the Hastings weren't there and Emily's mom wasn't there, but like, to see the parents in this season has been really great. And I really like that because it's like, the parents kind of disappeared for the longest time, and I was like, guys, they kind of need their parents. Like, after everything that's happened, you'd think that we would see their parents a lot more. And one thing that I notice a lot is that they always mention Arya's dad, but we never actually see Arya's dad, and that kind of annoys me a lot because we know he's not there. So I really wish they'd stop bringing him up, because it's like, guys, we get it. He's not there. And so, you know, it's good to see the parents back. Even if it's just their moms and not their dads. But who really cares about their dads? It always seems like the moms care way more anyway. Like, Ella's always there. And I know it has something to do with the availability of the actor and things like that. Like, why they can't be on the show. But, like, I just really like the parents. And I think that we should have them in the show a lot more. Just because I feel like they have a lot of potential. And so, that's all I really have to say about that. I just thought that it was a really nice moment with the parents in that episode, and I thought that was nice. And the very, very last thing that I want to talk about in this video, which I think is going to be like half an hour long, and that is Tanner. So, in the last episode, Tanner thinks that the message that Charles was trying to send to the girls is that Charles is on to Tanner, and really Tanner managed to turn the whole gallery thing into a thing about her and not the girls because of the little message that Charles left her. So the only things that we really learnt in this episode is, one, Tanner is bilingual, and two, Tanner's first name is Linda. And that is what anyone left that episode knowing. Those two things, that's all we learned in that episode, and we were like, so much for Summer of Answers, we just learned some things about Tanner, which seems kind of ridiculous when you think about it, but like, I thought that that was kind of pointless too. Like, wow, Tanner, you're bilingual, wow, Tanner, your first name's Linda, good for you. But like, Tanner explained in the episode that Charles was showing her that as much as they uncover about him, he can easily just uncover about her, and I'm like, yeah. Because if you met Charles, Charles just knows everything about everyone, including all the 4 girls and everything like that, because apparently he's been spying on them for years. So the fact that Charles knows things about Tanner is no surprise, but the fact that Charles is now also targeting Tanner is, again, not really surprising, but also kind of surprising because we didn't expect that. But, you know, for Tanner to turn that whole gallery thing around and make it about her is just kind of rude, because clearly it's not about her at all. And Tanner's kind of getting on my nerve at this point because she's not really doing anything. Like, I'm sorry guys, I just don't have a lot of faith in the police of Rosewood at this point, like really. I mean, who really does? I mean, we thought we had a breakthrough when Toby joined the force, but I don't even think he's going to be on the force for very much longer after the promo I saw in the last episode. And so finally we are at the end of this video. I think that I've said everything that I needed to say. I'm really sorry if it was rambly, and I'm really sorry if it didn't make any sense, but I'm pretty sure if you guys watched the show you were able to keep up to some degree. And yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. And also let me know in the comments below your theories about Charles and Redcoat and everything, because I'm really interested to know. I mean, my favourite thing to do actually is to read people's Pretty Little Liar theories, because they are so detailed and so believable that I kind of love it. Like, I think that's one of my favorite things about the fandom, of the theories that people come up with, because they are actually so smart and so believable that if the actual reveal of Charles and all the answers we get are not as good as the theories that people have made, I'm just gonna think about the theories, because I bet the theories end up making more sense than the real thing, because people put so much detail into them. And so, like I said, if you guys have any theories, please let me know, because I'm always interested to read them. And yeah, again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye guys. Favorite song? Okay, this one changes a lot, but right now it is Don't Wait by Joey Graceffa. I finally bought it on iTunes and I've literally been listening to it non-stop. I'm obsessed.